Hey, this is Gil from Grace Audio. Welcome back. Today we have a special guest. His name is DJ Lucas Benjamin. He's all over the place doing events, organizing, but he's a lover of this culture. And this conversation is all about him shining light on the person behind the face. Grace Audio. Let's go. Yes, welcome, Mr. Lucas Benjamin. So, welcome. It's an honor to have you here in this conversation. I know you from events, DJing, Mr. I got all the funk records, Mr. I got all the old school records as well, but I am not old school age. And that's what's so wonderful for me because I'm 46 and you are a little bit younger, but you still know about back in the day. And it's great to have you here and share this with the world. So I want to ask you, how did this all begin?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's always great to tell a little bit about the story, how I got here and the whole evolution of it. I think it all started when I was about 12 years old and I went to high school at the time and I saw a b-boy dancing at a school party. That's where it really started.
A specific b-boy or just a b-boy?
It was a local b-boy. His name is Joko, and he was a part of the Rocking Nation crew.
Right.
They had a video clip out at that time. I didn't know it. I didn't know that because I didn't know the whole scene at all. But we had the school party. I saw him dance. I went to him the next day on a normal school day. I asked him what it was. He showed me the first few moves, and that's where it really started.
Right,
and from there, I started practicing, became a young b-boy.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
See, that's funny because people know me now mostly as a DJ in the dancing scene.
Yeah.
But actually, I was a dancer already like a long time before, since I was 12. Yeah.
Wow. So you were, because last time we spoke, you said you were doing like DJing, but also have like this radio show and different stuff in the community. But you also told me, not that you were a b-boy, but you were an educated dancer, an academic dancer, and you graduated.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, whoa, this is I didn't expect this development, but I had so much appreciation for it because now I understand that you understand not only music but also dance and music, and that's why I see you spinning behind the decks and reacting to whatever is going on the dance floor or in battles or in an event. Now I understand where that comes from a little bit because you are a dancer yourself.
The dance came first for me, yeah.
Right.
And since I started dancing, music came right along. I just went to record stores even before I knew what a DJ was because I knew the music was part of the culture and I needed to study the culture to know what I was doing. So I went to record stores at a really early age and I didn't buy them yet because I didn't have the money. All my money went into going to the jams, paying the trains, paying the entrance. So I couldn't buy the records when I was 12, 13, but I was studying the music and then went home and started downloading them on the first download programs like Kazaa, LimeWire back in the day.
Yeah, wow.
And after a few years of doing that, I started to buy records.
Yeah.
Then the records became a part of it, and at some point I started playing the records for the dancers.
Yeah.
And then for years I was doing both. Actually, I was competing, I was dancing every day, practicing in the weekends, doing shows and battles, and every night at home I was playing the records.
So wait a minute, what in which period did this happen? Which age?
Well, I started dancing at the age of 12, which was in '99.
Right.
Started buying records around 2003, 4, and started playing for battles at 2006, I guess. Yeah.
What was the first battle you played?
The first event I played was at Block Jam. It was an open festival in the east of Holland, which was organized every year on a big field outside on a grass field with open floors, open graffiti panels, and open DJ decks, open mics. It was really for the culture, organized by the Dutch Nation. And that's the first time I played my records outside of the house. I went there on a bike with the records in a little crate, and I played there for like an hour. And that same year, I played at DBC, which was the first big jam, Dutch B-Boy Championships.
Yeah. Wow, nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. So the steps you made began when you got in this hip hop culture. It started at school, right?
Yeah.
With this b-boy, and you got connected. And was this the point that you were interested in this music at that moment, or did it develop?
It developed in the first year when I started to dance, and it started at school. But then I asked him, "Do you know any spots where I can practice, where there's more b-boys?" And it was just the start of this whole new generation wave. And around that time, after the Run DMC video clip, I
Right.
started to see it more and more in all the popular music videos.
Yeah.
So it really became bigger and bigger. So there were more youth centers where you could practice.
Right.
So he sent me there. I went there, and that's the first time you really hear the music affiliated with the culture.
Right. Right. Right.
So I
right.
asked the people, the elders that were there, what kind of music it was and where I could find it. I checked all the documentaries I could to learn more and more and see the connection of the music with the dance.
Right.
And from there, I just became the guy with the CDs in the practice with the
Yeah, yeah,
music,
yeah.
like really early on.
Nice. Nice.
Even
nice.
before I knew what a DJ was or what I was, I didn't consider myself a DJ. I was just
You were just doing it.
doing it. It was part of me. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. And
I even did the other elements at some point, graffiti for a while, not too long, and I knew it wasn't for me, but I was still interested in it.
MC?
I'm seeing a little bit more on the beatbox side in the MC ciphers. I was the guy with beatboxing.
Really?
Yeah.
You still do it sometimes?
I guess on the bike or in the shower, yeah.
Just for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's too bad. I'm really curious how
We
that.
can have a jam session later.
Let's go. Let's go. So, at an early age, you were dancing, but when did it became DJing, or were you doing those things together?
Like I said, in 2006, I started to play for battles,
Right.
but I was still competing in the battles also at the same time. And that continued for about 4 or 5 years, doing both, sometimes at the same event, sometimes in the same battle, running back and forth from the floor to the
Really?
DJ booth. Yeah, it was insane.
Wow.
Because I started DJing with Nobunaga, who was
Yeah.
also part of the same crew,
Yeah. Yeah.
EXG, Extraordinary Gentleman.
Big up.
So we started DJing for battles at the same time. So sometimes we played the same battle together. We were even sharing records in the beginning.
Yeah,
I bought
yeah.
one, he bought the same one, and then we can play the doubles and
Yeah.
backspin.
Nice.
So when I was playing, he was on the floor, and then we switched. We
Right.
did that at some events. yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's great. That's a great backstory.
Yeah.
But how does somebody like you, Lucas? You start out as a b-boy. Where did you learn your skills as a DJ? Did you pick it up yourself? Are you self-taught? Did you do workshops or?
Yeah, I'm completely self-taught.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
we started buying the records, and I didn't even. Oh yeah, in the beginning, I had a small record collection, but I didn't have turntables.
Right.
I was living on my own already, didn't really have the money for it. So I knew an old school b-boy who had a small set, like an old turntable set. I went to his place with my records to practice a little bit. But he wasn't really a DJ, he just had the turntables.
Right.
So at some point I asked, can I borrow your turntable so I can practice a little bit at home?
Yeah.
So I was allowed to borrow them for a few months. And then I bought my first turntable, and then I bought the second one, and then I had my set at home. But it was all just self-practice.
Self-practice. But for instance, when you practice, of course, mixing is a big thing, and making it sound right, and using the right tempos, but also mixing different genres, or use a baby scratch, or do you call it a backspin?
No, I would call it backspin if I... Oh, you mean the reverse, like the backspin?
Yeah. Where did you pick up those stuff? Because technical stuff and creative stuff, I mean, DJing is a big thing. It's not only playing records, right?
But all those things come gradually once you're doing it. Because in the beginning, I didn't really know all those things. I just bought the records, and at some point I realized, I like this part. I'm gonna need to buy the same record twice so I can extend that little part and loop it and backspin it.
Right.
And from there, you start scratching it because you're already backspinning it. You're doing a little
Right.
scratch, and it just gradually evolves. In the beginning, I wasn't mixing at all. I was just playing the hip hop style, like strong cuts,
Yeah.
throw the song in, but not really blending it or mixing it.
Right.
That started once I started playing it at after parties
Yeah.
or at lounge restaurants or doing radio shows.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really one point when I was learning it. It was just, I'm still learning. I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah,
learning
yeah.
different things.
Nice.
I'm still learning how to blend different styles. I never stop listening to new music. That's also a thing I never stop doing. Every day I listen to new music, really every day.
Really
Also
every
because
day.
I became in this position where people send me a lot of music.
Yeah.
They send me promos, and I have 20 gigabytes per week sometimes to go through.
Woo.
It's a luxury, yeah.
Yeah. Woo. That's a lot of inspiration.
But it's also a lot of shit sometimes. So you gotta go through all
You
of
got to
it.
go through it, man. You got to go through it. So we hear that, and we see that you are a DJ, and you have a certain way of playing, and you choose like specific music and specific tracks from specific eras. You are really conscious about what you are doing as a DJ. That's how I look at it.
Mhm.
Because when I go to a jam and you are the DJ, then I'll probably need 2 towels and 2 shirts
Mhm.
because I will be sweating. And what I mean is, of course, when you go to a jam, you listen to music and you go into it, you jam with your people, but it's a different art when you inspire the dancers from different angles.
Mhm.
And you have like different eras. So you have the golden era of hip hop. But what I also hear is that you have like certain remixes I never heard of. And I'm like, where did this come from? Or certain tracks or sounds that I'm like, where does this come from? And 2 weeks ago, we were walking back from a gig. You were spinning at a academic
Mhm.
dance school, and I was teaching
Your
or
students, yeah.
yeah, my students, and I was getting them through a test. It was actually bizarre that we were standing there at an academic school doing what we do,
Yeah, having a cipher,
having a
live DJ
cipher,
in the
live
school, yeah.
DJ. Oh man, it was so great to be inspired and to have to have this. And then we were walking to the train because we were done, and then you saw the record store.
Yeah, it was open. Yeah,
It was open, and you were like, I'm gonna get in there. Crate
course,
digging,
yeah.
of course. You're a DJ,
Mhm.
and you were like, "Are you in a hurry?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm not in a hurry." And then you went in and had a phone conversation, and you put your head out again after 3 minutes and said, "It's gonna take a while."
Yeah, I don't want you to wait.
Yeah.
'Cause
And I
have
was
to
like,
go through it. Yeah.
do your thing. This is what you love, crate digging. And is this where you find all these music?
This is one part of it.
Yeah.
Because the record stores are something are really a huge source for the knowledge that I have on music, obviously, because there's just so much to find in a record store. Every store has a different collection.
Right.
And not just old music. There's a lot of new record stores that only sell new labels and new releases.
Right.
So sometimes people think it's just old music in a record store, but no, it's actually you
Because
can
it's
find
vinyl.
Yeah, people think vinyl is old, but
Yeah.
people still press vinyl. I press vinyl.
Right.
So we keep that tradition alive. But that's one part of it. The other part of it is the deep corners of the internet, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, and unreleased stuff even. Like a lot of producers send me unreleased stuff.
Yeah.
And if I think it's good, I'll play it. So often that's one of the songs that you cannot Shazam or find anywhere.
Yeah.
It's probably an unreleased remix. Yeah.
But that's the good stuff. That's what I as a dancer, or if I go to a jam, this is what inspires me. Of course, I wanna sometimes, not always, hear the big pumping beats or tracks,
The classics.
classics,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes you just want to go off the grid, and go out of the box within a certain margin, of course. But it's so great to still have DJs like yourself representing this uniqueness of what you want to bring to this community, and it inspires. And I see it, for example, in Nobunaga. I see it too. I hear it when he spins. I'm like, This is like
Yeah.
like very spacey or different stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is I have to get used to this, but it's so great that it's there, right? So
Yeah, bring a different flavor.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
always what we were aiming for since we started.
right,
Is one of the reasons why we started playing at jams is because there weren't that many DJs playing for all the jams. It was only like a handful, and at some point, most of their records. And
Right.
as great as they are, there's so much more music, and we felt there's so much more music unplayed for these dancers, and new music creates new movements.
of course,
So we wanted to bring that since the first beginning. And I know in the beginning people had to get used to us, especially because we started in the b-boy scene
yeah,
with the heaviest breaks.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
we were into drums a lot, so we went into the craziest drum breaks.
yeah,
And at some point, the drum breaks became so fast, people couldn't handle it anymore,
Yeah.
except for our crew. So
Right.
we took a step back in the heaviness of it,
Mhm.
and that's where we are now. We appreciate the classics, but we also really want to add new stuff to it.
So you try to balance,
balance
it out.
it, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. That's great. That's great. So that's
I always like to bring a classic in a new form. Could
Right.
be a remix, could be a cover version.
right.
For example, if I remember finding a brass band version of Michael Jackson's Human Nature. It's such a different vibe if you hear it in a brass
course.
band setting.
Right.
And I remember playing it at IBE for an Afro cipher with only African-inspired music, and it just fit there.
Right.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have done that before, and it wasn't a classic, so
Yeah.
nobody showed me to do that.
Yeah. So that shows you're an open-minded dude, and you want to explore the boundaries and push them even, and even within. I think, and I really appreciate that you always have a certain look, right? It's detailed and it's flamboyant in a good way, and that's what I see when I see you after behind the decks. I see that the music is pushing the boundaries. The whole package is pushing the boundaries, and you're carrying out your expression, and it's very great to see, and it's inspiring. But what I also sometimes think that I always thought you were like older, not because you look old, but because you spin certain records that DJs spin that grew up in the 70s or in the 80s, and you grew up in the 2000s, right?
90s, 2000s. Yeah.
90s, 2000s, but you still put on like old funk and stuff like that, and it's very broad.
Yeah.
Where did this interest come from? Where did it start? Is it culturally? Is it from friends, or is it?
Mostly it's really self-study and my interest in the history of everything and how it's connected, especially in music. If you study the classics of the hip-hop scene, you automatically end up in the 70s
Yep.
with all the funk, soul, jazz of that era.
Yep.
And all the sampled music that used that music in the 90s,
As a
pretty much
result.
all hip-hop was
Yep.
sampling the 70s stuff. So through the hip-hop journey, I got to soul, funk, and jazz, and from there, my world expanded into Brazilian music or African music or Japanese stuff from the 60s, and it just keeps on evolving. And suddenly, before you know it, you're listening to gospel music from the early 1900s.
Wow.
And I didn't expect to end up there, but it's just my curiosity and seeing the connection between all of this.
Yeah.
I keep on listening to it and going deeper and deeper.
It's great. It's great. It's great to hear this story, because now when people hear this story, they have to realize that a DJ, in this case, is not just somebody who spins some records, but it is layered, and it has like so many different angles to look at it, and to be able to express yourself in this way, and to be so curious of this knowledge and this music. It's so great to see it in your music and the way you spin. But now we ended up in like this modern day, and now we don't even use vinyl anymore. So now you go with your USB stick, or not?
I actually never disregard any era. Same for music. I study all the older music,
Yeah.
but I also play unreleased stuff from the future, actually,
Yeah.
before it's even out. So I always go both ways in history, but also in technologically. because I started with vinyl, and I still buy vinyl records every week.
Yeah.
But I don't play just vinyl sets, strictly vinyl sets. In the beginning, coming from the hip hop era, I thought that was the pure thing, and you have to play with vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're close-minded to the future and the new changes that the future brings. So then when Serato arrived, the way that you can play with your laptop, but still with turntables with the same feel, but you have way more music in your laptop. You can do whatever. It doesn't have to be pressed on vinyl to be able to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the music was always more important than the medium.
Yep.
In any sense. So now if I play in a club and I don't feel like bringing the records or don't feel like bringing the laptop, I might bring a USB stick with enough music for that night.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, every gig is a different gig, and I always adapt to what I want to do for that moment.
You see, there comes the open-mindedness again.
I still play vinyl sets. There's a vinyl
Nice.
vinyl bar that opened up that was supposed to be open last year.
Yeah.
We only did a few test events, and I only played with vinyl there because it's a vinyl bar. It's made for that perfect warm sound.
Exactly.
So I don't bring my USB. There's not even a USB CD player there.
Great.
So I embrace that always.
I'm so glad that it's still living and it's still there, and there's still people who are interested in this way of DJing and listening to music and appreciate it. It's great to hear it. So what we can say, DJ Lucas Benjamin, you started out as a dancer, became a DJ, but you're also an entrepreneur. You have a record label. You have this radio show. I heard you were living in Japan like for 5 years or something like that.
No, not that long. No.
Not that long.
No, I lived there for 3 months, but it felt like 5 years, maybe experience-wise.
Really? Because
Yeah.
you got so much out of it?
Yeah, I went there for the first time. I always knew I wanted to go to Japan for a longer period.
All right.
And then I went for the first time. I stayed for 16 days. I did a small tour of all the major cities. And after 3 days, I knew I had to go back and stay for at least 3 months and see what would come out of it. So I went home, saved up a little bit of money, checked out an apartment in Tokyo, and then just booked it and then went solo.
Wow, you just went.
To just fully go into the adventure and didn't know what to expect. I had a vision and I had a motivation to do as much as I could on a cultural level there and really explore that scene in Japan and try to add something. And I think after a week, I landed at the right place because I met a Japanese DJ who plays in the dancing scene, used to be a dancer, but also plays in the clubs and loves soul, funk, and jazz. So it's like my Japanese version.
Really?
And then we connected. Plus, he
Wow.
studied in Japan, in Australia, so he spoke good English.
Yeah.
So he was my contact for so many gigs there, and it was the craziest time. Yeah, I definitely came back as a different person.
That's great.
Because I changed my name, because people might still know me as Lou Cheese, my b-boy name and the DJ name I had in the first few years. And after I came back from Japan, I dropped that name and I used my own name, Lucas Benjamin, because Benjamin's my second name.
Yeah, and what was the reason you transferred from Lucci to Lucas?
Because I don't know, it's that transformational period of being there by yourself every day, exploring not just Japan, but also your inner thoughts and your whole experiences. One day I might be in a temple, the next day I might be in a small jazz bar.
Wow.
And I did that for 3 months consecutively. Every day I was somewhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was chilling in the park reading a book, but I was just doing so much and meeting so many different people that I felt this might be the moment to drop that name, which I got that name when I was 15, I think, one of the first nicknames I had, and then the nickname sticks for more than 10 years. And at some point I realized I'm not that nickname anymore. That was me in that time.
Yeah.
So I came back.
You grew out of it.
I grew out of it in Japan, yeah. I came back. I remember I had a goatee. I shaved it off. I had a little ponytail. I shaved it off. Stopped wearing sneakers and wasn't that b-boy anymore that I was before. I was a broader person and a different character.
So that's why the name changed,
Yeah.
because it fit more,
Yeah.
right?
Also realized in that time that I didn't want to play mostly for b-boys. I wanted to do way more with music. So I came back with the idea of doing the label, actually, starting a label, organizing my own parties and nights, booking artists for concerts, and doing radio shows. Just doing more culturally on a musical level.
Right. So now we come to this journey, the b-boy, the dancer, the academic dancer.
I didn't actually mention that yet, the academic part.
You didn't mention it.
No. It's funny that barely anybody knows this in the dancing community.
Yeah.
Well, I was this full-time b-boy at that time, and then when I was 2006, I was 19. I started going to a dance academy where they were teaching me classical ballet, modern, contemporary, jazz, so anything but b-boying or hip-hop.
Yeah.
In that time, now it's there's more like urban academies where you actually, or where you're teaching now. It's a different time now,
True,
but in
true.
that moment, it wasn't there yet.
Nah.
Plus, I actually wanted to learn something new, and for some reason, I landed there. My old teacher told me about this school, and then I just went there, did an audition. Never did ballet before, never did any of those dances before.
And you got it.
I was just, I got accepted. I was just open to learn.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I see. You're very open and you're very challenge driven, very curious, and that's why you have so much information and so much development, and from so many different layers and perspectives. And so you're classically trained. You're a b-boy. You're a DJ. You're an entrepreneur. You have a radio show. You have a
Record label.
Yeah. What's current for you right now? What is?
Well, since we're still in the aftermath of the corona pandemic now, after more than a year, this entire year changed my perspective again, because like I want to adapt to the times and the situation I'm in.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic arrived last year and all my usual gigs were instantly canceled, I felt bad, of course, in the beginning, like everybody, but I really switched my mind state, I guess, within a week to make the best out of this time that I have now at home and do something with it that I couldn't do before. For example, play more piano. I have a piano in my living room for the last 3 years, but I never really played it that often. Like occasionally, every few weeks, I'll play there something I kind of know and then improvise with that, but I didn't really study it that much yet, because I didn't have the time for it. So as soon as that came last year, I instantly got behind the piano.
Nice.
Learned some more basics. Tried to learn a new song every week. Tried to produce more remix a lot of different stuff. So suddenly I was more on the production side and playing side of the music.
Right.
I never stopped doing the radio shows the entire year, actually.
Cool.
And the last thing that I added to the things that I'm doing, I was thinking about starting a blog, like an online magazine, for the last few years, because I felt in Holland there weren't that many blogs anymore. Most of them quit somewhere throughout the years, and people only discover new music mostly through Spotify algorithmic playlists.
True.
And so many artists would never make that playlist unless they're really known. But if they're not that known yet, they don't get into the algorithm.
True. Yeah.
And I know most of these musicians in Holland that I like, that I feel deserve a bigger audience. And I kept on saying this for the last few years, like, where are the new blogs? Is anybody writing about this?
Is this why you have this record company?
Also, yeah, because I'm surrounded by talented musicians and producers, and nobody was releasing their stuff.
Yeah.
So I just made the initiative to start a label with another DJ, Leroy Ray from Wicked Jazz Sounds, my colleague there. We just started the label 4 years ago.
Nice.
And now after almost 4 years, we did 12 vinyl releases.
Wow.
It's a whole new world of learning how that business works.
It's great. So you're like a really multitasker.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
so
I feel
always busy.
I can add something on all these layers. I remember I wanted to add something in the dance community, not just as a dancer, but also as a DJ. And that just continually evolved, I guess, into organizing club nights and parties, booking artists that I thought deserved a spot but weren't getting any bookings. Maybe you know Maxwell from Australia, the guy with the curly hairs.
Yeah.
His videos went viral, but he didn't do any gig in Holland yet. And then he was temporarily living in London. So that I took my moment and got him to Amsterdam, and we had the best night ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I got him to Amsterdam 3 years ago.
Yeah. I always see him with his keyboards and his bass guitars and stuff like that. Really funky dude. So
like those kind of things. I didn't plan on being a promoter or organizer, but I just felt that I could do it, and
it's
just
very
go for
organically.
It. Yeah, all the things that I do happen organically without me really planning them.
Nice. So you go with the flow.
Fully. Yeah.
Great. So what is your you have this platform.
Yeah.
You have this platform. What is your goal? Where do we see Lucas Benjamin like within, like tomorrow or even next year? or 10 years? What is your goal?
I don't really, like I said, I don't really think that far ahead, because something might happen tomorrow that changes everything, and then I spend all my time planning this. That's never going to happen. So I
But
don't.
do you
Really,
have a vision, a dream?
I have a really broad vision, and I have a lot of dreams, but I grab the one that is closest, which I feel I can do now all the time.
So you adapt.
I adapt
all the time.
all the time.
All
yeah.
the time.
That's why I'm not okay with the pandemic, of course, but I made the best out of it 100%.
I see that.
I kept the label going. We squeezed out 3 more records in the last year, even though pressing plants were closed for months, and the record stores, some are still closed. It was a super hard time to keep the label alive, but I also didn't want to quit the label in this time.
I understand, yeah.
And then the blog, it's just a new thing that we started actually in January this year. We launched the blog, and now in the last 4 months, I gathered a whole team of enthusiastic writers and 2 photographers that capture the whole thing. And I don't have enough time to interview everybody that I want to interview for the blog, because my list of talented friends is way too long.
It's too numerous.
Yeah, and some of them are not my friends, but I really want to interview them. For example, 2 weeks ago, I went to Ronald Snijders, a 70-year-old Surinamese flutist that I thought deserves a way bigger spotlight. So I got his contact, called him up, we went to his house, and we had a 2-hour conversation and wrote about it, and he made a great article out of it. He was super grateful, and this is just the start of that collaboration. Actually, we might release something on the label, so the circle continues. Yeah,
nice.
So if I have to look into the future, it's definitely everything I'm doing now, plus a few extra things probably.
Just extended.
Yeah. I can't really name one thing. I could say I might organize a festival in a few years.
Yeah.
Didn't plan it yet, but it might happen. I don't know.
Yeah. So you're
open. For now, I'm
open.
I'm open to new additions.
Right.
To my passion. Yeah.
So when you started out as a b-boy and got inspired, I think you never would have thought that there was the result.
No.
What was your goal back then when you were a b-boy? Or let me say, before you were a b-boy, what was your dream? What were you thinking back then?
I don't think I had any. When I started dancing, I just got so absorbed with the culture in that moment of living that to the fullest that I don't think I ever really planned anything when I started dancing or had any dreams with that dance. At some point, we wanted to be the first Dutch crew at Bell of the Year. That didn't happen. And when that dream got crushed, I kind of let that fully go. And before that, I don't think I had a clear vision or like dream with dance. No, I just loved doing it every day. Even
that
though
was the goal, just doing it.
And learning, and I didn't have plans or specific dreams in that sense.
So what is funny, it's the same right now.
It's the same right now, yeah. I just realized that in this conversation that I never really chase any specific dreams.
Yeah.
No. So, and for me, that works.
Yeah. So what I want you to have is the encouragement to keep on being Lucas Benjamin and extracting from everything like you always did, and keep inspiring us dancers and us in the community and other DJs, and creating platforms for other people and giving back to the community. It's great. It's really, really, really great. And I as a person, I appreciate it. And that's why we are having this conversation. It's not that I have a list of people, this person. No. We do this because we love this, and we want to share this information and extract from it and grow from it and be inspired and inspire other people and grow as a community or as people. So I want to thank you for this conversation, and I encourage you to go wherever you want to go or need to go, but stay open. And it's very inspiring to have you and your mind that's open. And I have this conversation with you, and now I'm like, he's so open that I can find myself thinking about situations and be more open about it too. So that's how you directly inspire me at this point. And it goes like an oil spot moving across, and it branches out in everything I will be doing. So realize that your inspiration and your work and your work ethic and your vision and your kindness, it's noticed.
Thank you.
Right?
Appreciate that.
Big up to everything you have done and are doing and are going to do. So thank you.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
Gil, signing off. Grace Audio. Lucas Benjamin.